Hello guys, I'm back. We were doing just fine before we had the technical itch. I'm so sorry about it, people. But you know, we're in Nigeria. This is the Nigerian, and I don't like that balance. I don't like to say it, but I'm one of the lovers of my country. I'm a patriot, and I believe that things will get better. So thank you so much, everyone, for your patience and perseverance. We are going to start straight away now, and I would like to introduce myself to you because some of you don't know me. I'm new to you, but for those of you who know me, this is Dr. Bisi Akialabi. My friends call me BCB. And today, I'm going to talk about the limitation of online education in Nigeria. Schools are closed for more than 2 months now in most parts of the country. And despite herculean efforts by educators to transform school activities online, we still have widespread problems. What are the challenges for the nation's public schools and the students? Schools everywhere are trying to adapt, but they are being handicapped by the limitations of online education and the vastly unequal access to the internet. During the COVID-19 pandemic, most places are on lockdown at the moment, while some places are relaxing the lockdown, but schools remain closed in order to ensure that learning is not disturbed. A number of strategies have been employed by schools to deliver schools activities online. These include, I'm going to mention the 3 most popular forms of strategy used for the online learning. The first one is what we call synchronous lessons online. This is when you have both the teachers and the learners interacting the same time online, whereby the student can ask questions and the teachers can answer those questions. The second, but in most cases that are being used, are the cases whereby teachers will pre-plan, pre-record some short lessons, and they can make it available online on Google Classroom, for example, or YouTube, and the student can log on anytime and learn. There's another third form that is very primitive and it doesn't really use any technology, and that is when you plan lessons on paper packets and children will have to come to the school to pick up those paper pre-planned lessons. So today we shall be having a number of dialogues with colleagues and special experts, subject matters experts on IT. And my 3 guests today are Babatunde Aino, will be my first guest. My second guest is Professor Douglas Botry from University of Delaware. And my 3rd guest is Mrs. Tera Onyene from Nigeria. She's very known in the industry for technology. She is into producing and creating online solutions in Nigeria. And you know, I'm an Afrocentric person. I really would love us to always promote what is our own. So today I'm going to add my first guest because it's already waiting, and that is Tunde Aino. Babatunde, how are you? Hello, Babatunde at Alex Raymond. Oh, hi.
Hi, how are you doing, Dr. B? Yes, this is Tunde Aino from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Very privileged to be on this seminar this afternoon. I'm here to talk about the technologies involved in online learning. So I'm looking forward to a very spirited discussion this afternoon, and I hope we can all. Yes.
You see, Tina and I were in Unilag over a long time ago, over 30 years ago. I first met today in 1984 or 1983, I think, you know, when he was in Unilag and I was in Unilag too. So today it's so good to see you, and I can see you having some gray hair. What's happening?
Oh yeah, that's lovely, man. That's a sign of experience.
Great cockeye.
Hey.
Anyway, my first question to you, and of course, before I go on to ask the question, it will be very insensitive of me not to say, are you keeping? I hope you're being safe, and I hope all of you, my viewers out there, are being safe. I'm so sorry I didn't say that at the beginning, because we all need to keep safe. We all need to keep the protocol of the pandemic, social distancing, and also use our mask, and also make sure that we wash our hands regularly. So today, tell me about it. How are you coping in Florida?
Well, here in Florida, we are all still under almost voluntary lockdown. Everything is not tightly locked down. It's people still get to go around, but you just go for the essentials. Everybody's wearing the mask over here, but we are lucky it's not as crucial like up in New York or New Jersey. Up there is really bad, but we're all keeping safe. Thanks.
Our thoughts are with our people all over the world, because this issue is for everybody and it's real. So we are all praying that it will soon be over and we will all come out unscarred. Now today, what is online learning? What is online learning, really? I would like you to give us don't go too technical so that our viewers can understand what you're saying in layman language. What is online learning?
Okay, so thank you very much for the intro. I'll try and make it as a like discussion format as much as possible, so it's not going to be rigid. So online learning is a comprehensive term that includes a number of instructional educational environments and approaches, right? So what do I mean by that? It means we have a system that obviously from the name implies is online. That means it's on the internet. The resources are on the internet. It's comprehensive in that it can achieve various goals and also serve various purposes. So I won't be too abstract. I'm just going to go straight down and give you examples of our online learning systems. So the first, there are basically about 7 of them. Some people say it's 10 types, but it's like, okay, it's about 7 known types. So the first type is the computer managed learning. So this system here is basically, you have a computer that is connected to a database. In the database, you have images, videos, texts, static material that the software on the computer actually connects to and then can retrieve, and then just like a library, you know, so it's just there. All the resources are there and you can pick it up anytime you want. Pretty dumb. It's just there. The second type is a computer assisted instruction. So this is a slightly different. It has the same things there. All the material is there, but it helps the instructor channel the material to the student or to the learner. So imagine a system where you have a basic software that tells you today go to lesson 4, and then when you click on lesson 4, it goes to the database and brings up lesson 4, and you do that and you submit your assignment somehow. You could submit it on paper, you could submit it via email or whatever. That's another type. Then the type, one of the main types that is happening right now, this is COVID-19 season. That's what Dr. BCB said a while ago. Everybody's doing this right now. COVID-19, all of a sudden, just raise the consciousness and, oh, I don't have to be in the classroom to learn. What do we do to bridge the gap? Kids at home, they have to learn. So what do? we now scramble. We get things. We get Zoom. We get Google Meet. We get Microsoft Teams. We get web. Yeah.
You're too close to your camera. Can you
Oh,
move back a bit so we can see you? Yeah. Thank
okay.
you.
All right. So after COVID struck, schools closed. We need a way to connect to the classroom. So there comes Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Meet, Google Meet, all these video conferencing software where the student can collaborate with the instructor in real time, right? That is the key word, real time. So it's just like the classroom. So before COVID, you go into the classroom. Now you zoom into the classroom, right? That's the only difference. You zoom into the classroom now, you go into the classroom before COVID. So teacher is there. He can share his or her screen. He can share his or her screen. He can scribble on the screen and the students can see. Students can answer questions via the chat message. That's synchronous. We have asynchronous. That's the one that we really call online learning. That's the one we really love. The one where we sit down with the instructors, we dice and slice. Yes, we put that in a system. We come up, we get to instructor, people who do design for curriculum. They look at the curriculum, they cut it into pieces and they arrange it into sequential pieces for the learner to follow. This is done in a VLE, in a virtual learning environment. A virtual learning environment will allow you to have videos, it will allow you to read, it will present text animation to you, it will allow you to take tests, it will allow you to review material, it will allow you to discuss with your fellow learners via a chat room. So a VLE-based online learning is asynchronous.
I would like to stop you there today because I can see that you're going on to talk more about the technology now. And, and my next question is about the technology really. My next question is, what is the technology that makes online learning possible? Because already you've spoken about VLE, you've spoken about the computer, spoken about the internet, you're talking about the technology already. So let me take you back a bit. Can you enumerate the technology that makes online learning possible? Thank you.
Yes. So obviously you're going to need a series of computers. Some of them will be clients. That's the one the learners will use, and then you're going to have the servers. That's the one that the material will be on. Obviously, it's an online system, so you're going to need a set of computers. You're going to need the internet, right? If you're going to get the internet, you're going to need a solid network, right? Of maybe cell phone towers or a nice cable network, or it could be satellite-based internet. You have to have a solid base. On top of that,
so internet is a key technology in online learning.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's
yes. Internet is very key to online learning. That is what our expert from Florida just told us now.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes. So my next question is, how do we overcome the unequal accessibility to the technology that makes online education possible in a developing nation like Nigeria?
Okay, so this is where we're not going to talk about technology, but we're going to talk about other things, right? So the existing infrastructure, right, is what will democratize learning, online learning in Nigeria. So you have some kids are in the village, or some kids are in Lagos, in the affluent parts of Lagos. And so they have two different ways of connecting to the internet. Some of them have powerful cell phones. Some have modems, cable modems, but all these things right on the network itself. So, and it's not in rural areas, it's not that prominent, that you have very good network. Yeah, exactly. That's number one. Number two,
students to get online in this pandemic. because they will be losing out.
Yes, they will lose out. And the only way at this point, it has to be a concerted effort between the government and private sector. So if the government has the will and devotes more money into the budget and they collaborate with the telecoms and the telecom companies, then you can see where you get a quickly, rapidly expanding networks that can cover these rural areas. You know, you can do it quickly, you can do it via satellite, or you can do it by quick expansion of the network and boost the power and the bandwidth. That's the only way this is going to happen. But it's possible, really, to be done in the rural areas. That's one thing. Another thing is the environment. When we talk about a network, internet, this has to sit down on top of the power infrastructure. The power infrastructure in Nigeria is, like some people like to say, is epileptic, right? I don't like that word, but like it's
I know the power of the tonight. Yeah. We are on generating.
Right. So if you don't have a solid power base, then the other infrastructure sitting on top of it will be shaky as well. So those are the main things. Government has to spend more money, and then the private sector, the telecom companies, have to rapidly expand into the rural areas.
Okay. One of my viewers just sent a questionnaire and saying that data rate is just too mad these days.
That,
you know,
exactly.
That's another limitation for us over here.
Exactly. So I was speaking to one of my mentees at the University of Lagos, and is the students there, they spend about 20,000 naira to get I cannot know gigabytes per month, but it's not enough if you are going to be consuming videos, because the rich online material, the rich instructional materials in online learning, they're actually videos. And videos are very heavy, and if you stream that, you're going to spend so much naira trying to get the content down to you. So that's another very important limitation there, the cost of
that the telco and the telecommunication companies should be doing something for us, at least in this pandemic period. They should at least make data affordable for parents so that the children can access learning online.
Well, yes, the telcos can do so much. Okay, so telcos will probably, they're a company, they're out there to make money. Of course, this is special times where you need special contribution to society, but they can lower the price so much, but it's going to take the government to really subsidize the data.
So really, you're saying now that government is key in giving us the solution to overcome the unequal accessibility to the technology that makes online education possible. I hope somebody somewhere is listening to us right now in government, and they can take this to the people that matters. But they need to know that they need to help us. NCC, we're giving you a shout out, call out. We're calling out the Minister of Technology, the Minister of Communication. You need to see what you can do. And even the Minister of Internal Affairs, you need to see what you can do for us to make sure that our children are not left behind. It's been 3 months now, and that takes me to the third question today. He said, Can you describe uLearning? Some school of thought say that learning strategies that are suitable for this pandemic situation are mobile ubiquitous learning, that they call uLearning, which is a learning strategy that integrates mobile technology that enables learning to be carried out without limits, which is like seamless. Can you please explain that to us? And that will be your parting shot. My next guest is waiting. Thank you.
Right. So the new uLearning or ubiquitous learning is a new paradigm. It's a learning idea that rides on ubiquitous computing. What is ubiquitous computing? Nearly everybody carries a powerful cell phone on them nowadays, right? Under normal conditions, everywhere should be connected. You have Wi-Fi and your 4G you know, and very soon 5G. 5G is good. And very soon 5G is going to come on very soon, and then everywhere is going to be very well connected. Once you have that situation where everybody has a cell phone, very powerful connection, then you do things like adapting your learning content to where you are. So imagine if the students get to the classroom on their tablet, on their cell phone, the cell phone knows they're in the classroom and it will adapt the software to the location they are in. When they get home, it will switch to homework, you know, and prompt them to do the right thing in the right place. So that is the whole idea of U-learning. U-learning is a system that, let me see, what do I have here? U-learning is a system that is capable of connecting to the environment, right? And adapting to the environment, leveraging fast connectivity and superb computing mobile. So it has to be mobile, it must be fully connected, it has to adapt to the environment.
So it goes back to the infrastructure as well. So before we can use U-learning in our own country, in Nigeria, we will need the government and all the industry stakeholders to come together to make it possible for us. Thank you so much today. I will ask you to
one more word before I go. Yes.
Yes.
We have to first learn how to work before we start learning how to run. U-learning is running, asynchronous is working, and your old-time email is crawling. We've passed crawling in Nigeria. We are working right now. We need to get the government to spend money to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you today. Don't go away because you're going to, when we're rounding up, I will also need you. Please stay tuned. I would like to know if Professor Douglas Buttrey is on standby. If that is so, can I add you now? Doc? I don't think I have not. Thank you so much, Digital Presto. We shall move forward. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Tope Tanwa. Yes, you said that the idea is to have learning platform that requires very minimal data usage. You're quite correct, Tanwa. That's correct. Hello, I think Buttrey is here now. Let me see if I can add him, but I can't see him. I'm not able to add you. Prof, can you come online? Can you press the live button on your screen? Hello, Doc. Professor Buttrey, I can see you're online, but I cannot add you. I wonder why I've not been able to add you. Hello? Wow, I think we're having some issue with our next guest.
So do I have to come up first? Or
yes.
You can just take
Okay, let's first. Sorry. Yeah, that's true. Okay. I think I can join. I can. Okay. I'm Prof, where are you? You've gone offline. Prof is not here again. Okay. I'm adding you, Prof. Prof is coming on now. Thank you. You can get it.
Hello.
Hi, Prof. Hi. Hi. How are you, Professor Douglas Buttrey from University of Delaware?
Right.
Professor Buttrey is a professor of biomolecular chemistry and is very Afrocentric. Aren't you, Doc? I remember that time you were dancing to the African drums when you came to Ibadan. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you for loving Africa.
Oh,
how are you?
Doing well. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, fine. And I hope you're keeping safe.
Oh, yeah.
In this pandemic?
Yeah.
That's great.
my house much in the last 8 weeks.
That's great.
Mm.
That's great. Okay. I think today say hi to you. Say hi, Prof. If you look on the, you will see all our people are waving and they're saying hello to you.
Okay.
Anyway, Don, we have 3 questions for you today. I know that you have to shift a class, an online class, to be able to come online now. Thank you so much for doing that, Prof. How long ago did you start using e-learning? Because obviously you're based in the US, and I would like you to share some of the challenges you encountered initially, because I believe that where you were when you started is probably where we are now in Nigeria. Please, can you share the challenges encountered and when you started using e-learning?
Well, we've been trying to deliver content to students that can't be with us in the classroom for almost all of my career. I course in I suppose about 1993 or 94 that I was teaching at the university.
That's 27 years ago.
Yeah, I was teaching a course in electron microscopy. It was a very advanced subject. And there were a lot of people in industry that wanted to take the course, but they were scattered all over the world. And so we recorded the course on VHS tape. And the university made it available to people. Of course, they saw that as a money-making activity, and so I didn't want them to charge. I wanted to make sure it could get to anyone that needed it. And so now we're trying to figure out ways to deliver content to our students students that are supposed to be with us in the classroom, but can't be for safety reasons. And so we're all trying to figure this out, it's not easy, and we're continually discussing it. Tomorrow morning, I'm joining the people in our admissions department for the University of Delaware to meet prospective students and their parents that have been admitted to the students that have been admitted to the university that are in the Indian subcontinent, in the Middle East, and throughout Africa. And we're going to have an online session to try to make sure they get all the information that they need, and so forth. And so, but we're doing this as we go. We're trying to figure it out. I didn't know, 5 days ago that I was going to be doing these things, and all of a sudden here we are. And in early March, I was still teaching in the classroom at the University of Delaware, and we suddenly got the announcement with 2 days' notice that we had to vacate the campus. 6 people within the building were already infected with the coronavirus.
That is very
all of us, us were very concerned about, who's been exposed, and let's not get near each other, and we have to get out, and I still can't get back into my office 8 weeks later, and so fortunately, we have most things electronically accessible, and so we've managed to make the transition in an emergency situation. So the problem. And by the way, the students that had to vacate campus from my classroom were 25% of them, I think, are international students. Many of them very quickly got on planes to India or Saudi Arabia or South Korea, or wherever they had come from, and then our lectures continued. And so now what we do the lectures on Zoom. But very important, I always hit the record button when I give a lecture. And that way, if someone misses the lecture for whatever reason, I mean, there are legitimate reasons, like the student in South Korea who says, well, you gave the lecture at 3 a.m. in the morning for me. And so that's fair enough. And so we use Dropbox or Google Drive to allow the student to then get access to the video lecture. Over the past few years, I've taken my lectures that I used to do for almost 40 years on a chalkboard, and little by little, I've put them into PowerPoint slides. converted those into PDFs and so forth.
Yeah. When you're talking, Doc, it means that you have enjoyed online learning for majority of the years you've been a professor or you've been a lecturer, and you cannot really remember any form of challenges apart from the fact that they would love to make it a money-making venture, but you were more interested in getting it across to all your learners. Thank you for that narrative. From your experience, will you say that online education is best suited to tertiary than secondary, primary, or early years?
That's a somewhat difficult question. I suppose that it may be better with tertiary education in the sense that as young people mature, their ability to function without being face-to-face with their teachers and mentors surely gets stronger. But I think that even with university students, undergraduate or even graduate students, there's something about mentoring that really is helped by the personal contact. But we don't have that option at the moment. That if we have,
because of the pandemic, definitely.
Yeah. If we have it, we'll. But
because I'm full of thought, believe that young children really need the interaction. They need the face-to-face teaching. They need the social skills. They need to build up social skills, and some of them may have learning difficulties, which we mean that the teacher will have to intervene, and put a lot of other interventions within the classroom setting. But now I think, like you said, we don't really have a choice. We have to go with the online learning for everyone. Now, can you say learning online, whatever the platform, is the same as going to school or face-to-face didactic teaching? Can you enumerate the limitation of online education in general? Because you've really been talking about the advantages, but I would really like you to let us know the limitations in general. Because will you say it can replace face-to-face teaching or didactic teaching?
I don't think we should pretend that it will ever be quite the same as face-to-face. But we need to make it as close to face-to-face as we can get it. And we need to do that for two reasons. One is that it becomes necessary in situations like the one we're facing right now, where it's not safe for us to be together. But another situation where it's very useful is when students can't get to the classroom because of socioeconomic circumstances where they are in the world or whatever. And so, when I'm teaching at the University of Delaware, there are young people all over the world that I wish I could have in my classroom. And, the tuition is embarrassingly expensive. And so many, not just in other parts of the world, even in the US, a large fraction of the population simply cannot afford to be in my classroom. And so if I can provide that to others, then, electronically, then maybe that's the way it can be shared by access it.
Okay, we need to round up now. Thank you, Professor Douglas. What you have said in a short form for the last question is that online learning is good as an alternative and a contingency for learning, so that those who choose to learn in that manner can take it, mainly in the tertiary. And we can extend that to the secondary and primary after the pandemic as a contingency. We cannot really replace face-to-face teaching with online learning. It's not the same. In fact, what some of my viewers even sent some posts that says it's not the same. We all agree that it's not the same, but it's a good alternative for learning. And on that note, I will ask you to step aside a little bit so that I can bring in Tara I would like you to be on standby because I'll still need you. I don't want you to go away until 9 o'clock.
Can I make one very quick comment before I leave?
Yes,
so
please.
the other thing I found this semester, I'm teaching 2 courses, and one of them is a laboratory course where the students are supposed to go into the laboratory and do experiments. And so now I have to synthesize data that look like what they would have collected. And that definitely is not the same. And so there's something you cannot put online, and teaching engineers, they have to learn how to do things, not just simulate things and model things. They need to actually get their hands on equipment. And I've got a solution for that. So, all right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to see whether Tara is around. I would like you to log to come up so that Tara can come in. I can ask Tara. Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Okay. I would like to know if Tara is still online because I can't see her. Not sure she's there. Oh, she is actually. So I'm adding Tara Onyeje. Now, she's a top madam in the EdTech space in Nigeria. And I'm so excited to have her here today. She's the CEO of Be Interactive. Tara, if you're there, can you introduce yourself, please? I think she's having some technical itch. I can see that she's on, but it's... Oh, yes, we can hear the voice. We need to see the face.
I'm trying to get it to work. It's just acting up. Hi, Doc. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome, madam. This is one of the limitations of anything to do with technology and internet in the country.
How come he gets to stop when it's my time to get on? But it's okay. We're running out of time, it seems, so I'm just going to speed it up.
Yes. So, Tara, can I go straight to ask you my first question?
Please, go ahead.
I would like to know, what are the solutions available that can satisfy most of the features of traditional didactic teaching in Nigeria? I would like us to look into Nigeria because that's where we are and that's where we're concerned about for now.
Okay, fantastic. So first of all, I'm an African manufacturer, so a lot of my conversations would always talk African. But yes, for this evening, I can talk Nigerian. So the one solution that I do see that trumps having all of the traditional teaching really is getting the internet connected device in front of the learner. Now, this is not a good thing. Remember, if we're talking traditional learning, that's rote learning, that's sage on stage. In this manner, information is one way, learning is educator-centric. So who guides the child in the what, where, and how of learning? Does a nanny in the home completely replace the mother? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so too.
Good. So putting technology in the hands of the learner, especially younger learners, makes the educator more relevant. Here we begin to see the role of the facilitator begin to unfold. So they're going from teacher to facilitator. So do I want to satisfy the traditional features of learning? No, I don't. I want to drive for a more effective new way of learning that the youth have embraced. And that really is the core of what WowBe does.
I'm complaining that we can't see you, Tara. I don't know why we can't see you. They want to see you.
They want to see my amazing face. I get it.
Can I take off and then...
Yes, please. I'm going to go off and then you can put me back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. Sorry, everyone. I don't know why I cannot... we cannot see Tara's face. I have removed her for now, and I'm going to add her back on again to see whether we can see her beautiful face. And we see how it goes. It's just the problem of connectivity. Connectivity is a big issue here. The other two guests were joining us from America, and they didn't have any problem. And our own sister that is joining us locally from Nigeria is struggling to come on. I would like to give a shout out to our telco to please stop ripping us off. They should give us the technology we're paying for, because data is very expensive here, and yet this is what we get. And we still cannot see terror. It's a pity.
Wow. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. Wow. Well, solution. Oh, excellent. Great. Hi, I can see you now. By the way, I need to let everybody know that this lady also is a great Akokite. She's an alumna of the great University of Lagos. Great. All right. You're welcome. And it's nice to have you this evening. And thank you for joining us at very short notice.
Yeah.
You know? Can you continue to educate us on the solutions available? Can we look up on that quickly? Because I have 3 questions for you. I'm in terror.
Okay, I think I've pretty much done with the first, where I said what WowB is about is interactive learning. And it actually addresses part of what Professor Buttrey had said, as well as what Tunde had said. We find that learning is a lot more effective when it's interactive, when it's synchronous. So our technology actually provides that. So there are all sorts of conversations going on how to roll that out on a wider scale. But I think a lot of things are possible given the opportunities we see in the marketplace now.
Okay, thank you. All right. But how affordable are these solutions? And how can we make them accessible to all schools in Nigeria, for example, including public schools?
Okay. Affordable is not a word I like to use in education. Like you know, across Africa in the last 30 years, there hasn't been that much investment in education. So we sit down and we're talking about the UK going through their second refresh on interactive flat panels, and in Nigeria, we're still struggling with infrastructure. The only way to do this is to scale. The only way to scale is if government invests. And it's not just the government investing, it's also about the government working with locals. So you're working with people who have a vested interest in the country. You're not looking for people who just want to come in, dump technology and go away for a profit. Yeah, so when you sit with locals and you have a clear plan, what are the perks, what are the benefits of working with them? So for instance, in the UK, the government has picked a particular brand, a British brand, and they've said your refreshes are going to be 5 years. And there are additional terms. They may say, okay, the price has to be capped at X. In terms of repairs, you're going to have to do it like this. You know, just setting up the plans so that the locals who are invested in doing all of that have a clear growth plan and can drop prices. If I sell 10 screens to a private school, it's not the same as selling 1,000 screens to Lagos State. With 1,000 screens in Lagos State, you start to see the kind of jobs that people are saying, oh, did not exist 10 years ago. Because once you start to build this vibrant ecosystem, there are all sorts of services that come, you know, around it. As you grow that ecosystem, there are other players here as well. You're looking at the telcos. Internationally, in the US, for instance, the government buys bandwidth and distributes to school districts. You know, we want to see that type of initiative here, where you have a telco laying fiber in Ogun State. And, you know, you talk to them and they don't seem to understand that it's not just to lay the fiber. Somebody has to pay for the fiber for it to get into the schools. When they pay for it, you still have the issue around who's the last mile player. So a lot of the time when we engage, we find that all of the moving pieces do not seem to understand the long play. Because education is long play.
Wow. So really, basically, we need a lot of dialogue. We need a lot of sensitizing. We need a lot of workshop. We need to educate those who are in authority.
I think the most important thing we need might actually be...
Yeah. Yes. Go on. Frozen again.
No, I said that the most important thing we might need actually is sincerity of purpose.
Sincerity.
A lot of the time, there are just so many interests that, you know, we don't get to where we need to get to because discussions break down. For this type of things to happen, there has to be sacrifice because we're so far behind. And in terms of infrastructure, in terms of willingness to even achieve, we're not where we should be. So for me, it's a lot about telling that story that shows people what the end game is and helping them understand that we're going to take small steps, but it's very doable because I see that it is affordable. You know, 2 years ago, if you had asked me, is it affordable? I would have said, yes. Today, because of the pandemic, I would say, yes. But the answer is still yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Tara. I would like to let you know that we're going to be cut off after 1 hour. So I really need to quickly go on to the interactive session and call one parent, concerned parent, and tell her what her concerns, because she has inboxed me earlier on. Please, can we have B Kujore 2020? She should be on standby.
I need to get up.
Yes, sorry. I'm going to look for her request. I need B Kujore to make a request so that she can go live with me. I don't think she's live now. Wow. I can't see her again. There's a concerned parent that I would like to bring out to share. I don't know if anybody else would like to come on because I don't seem to see the lady now. Wow. B Kujore 2020. Oh, she's here. I've seen her. I'm going to add her now. I think she's on now.
Hi.
Hello, hi. Good to see you. Bola Kujore, a concerned mother. How are you?
I'm good.
I hope you are keeping safe and the family as well.
Yeah. And I trust you're good as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see you. Please, can you share some of your concerns about this pandemic?
Well, I've listened having listened to the three speakers, I want to say thank you to each and every one of them. But I'm coming from the angle of a concerned parent. And my first question is this: what happens to the students in public schools? What happened to the public school students? I mean, how do we move on? The private sector already in school, the private schools are already on, and these ones are just there sitting at home. How do we close the gap? How do we handle them? You're talking about internet, how affordable it is. Can they afford it? Even if they can. Do they have what it takes? Do they even understand? Can the teachers even handle the Can the teachers handle the online teaching? Exactly. So these are questions begging for answer. And I've just been sitting and I've been thinking, what is happening? Now, these ones are already moving on. And these are just running over the streets. And I said, this is a time bomb waiting to explode. Because what happens to them? COVID-19 is here. Nobody knows when it's going to go. Now, things are moving smoothly until the rude interruption of COVID-19. Okay, here we are. How do we move on from here? How do we close the gap? Now, a case readily comes to mind of a young girl who had to use the ATM light to do her homework in Ekiti State. Now, if it's that bad, even when things were normal, what happens to such a girl now? You see them all over the places. So I'm like,
I think you should.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. I'm like, my concern goes to the public school students. What happens to them? The private schools are already on, they've resumed, but these ones are just there roaming about the streets. No provisions for them, nothing in place. And I'm like, what happens to them? How do we close the gap? What do we have in store for the public school? How do we close the gap? The gap keeps getting widened every day.
I'm answering you as you're talking. And somebody said individual, corporate, or community-driven solution must innovate to provide this solution irrespective of government policy or the body language of the state administration. I hope I'm listening. I think we all have to come together. The concerned Nigerians. We all have to come together as a community, especially some of us who are passionate about education. You know, I think we have to do a follow-up, another series to follow up on this. The dialogue has to continue because we cannot finish talking about what we need to do to close the gap, just like Bola Kujore just said. How do we close the gap? What happens to the child in Ayede?
The public school,
what happens to the child in Ugora? I was born in Ugora, for example. So you can imagine that if I did not get the chance to have education, I will not be here representing those who come from Ugora. So we really need to start talking about this and to hopefully maybe the government will give us a better body language to education. Education is key. And in summary, Bola, I'm sorry that I'm cutting you short. I really need to round up because Instagram is going to cut us short in 1 hour. And I need to summarize everything that all of you wonderful people have shared today. This forced online learning has its issues. While learning still goes on, we have learned from the expert that it cannot replace face-to-face learning because it doesn't take into consideration the learning styles and the teaching styles. And also, though we have different types of technological options, but we still know that they're not the same. Spontaneity, personal connection, physical interaction, personal relationships, as well as human cues are missing. And these are all factors that matter tremendously in the education of young people, for example. Like Professor Dodd said, you see, mature students can learn effectively online. They can learn remotely because they are mature and they have the passion for that particular discipline. And that's the reason why they opt or they will have opted for distant learning. So as such, there's another issue that we did not even foresee at the beginning of COVID-19. And just last month, the Washington Post, Valerie Strauss, reported that the FBI have cancelled, have reported that they have been hijacking of some of these online sessions in the city of New York, in Florida, and in some places in Los Angeles. So you see, and this phenomenon, they've now called it Zoom bombing. Zoom bombing is a term that we didn't know about before the pandemic. But during the pandemic, some of the classroom sessions and some of the meetings have been hijacked by unscrupulous people. And as such, even in some schools in the New York City area, they've had to cancel Zoom, for example. But I know that Zoom is working to address this problem. So on this note, I would just like to hear Mrs. Kujore to continue with what she was saying, because I just wanted to quickly put in one or two things before they cut us off. So I thank you everyone for staying tuned. I will leave us to Mrs. Kojore, and I will give you a hand to let you know time off so that before we got cut off. So I'm listening because I really enjoy what you're saying. Because it's good to hear from concerned parents. Because really parents are the #1 stakeholders in education. Because they're the one paying for the cost of learning.
Yes.
So,
okay, like I was saying. Okay, like I was saying, people have talked about the internet. Somebody suggested radio. Radio, it's not a good education tool. Because when you talk about education, it's similar to communication. When you communicate, there must be a response. So when you're teaching, there must be a feedback. And then when you're talking about the public schools, how learned are the teachers? How exposed are they? Can they use
Some
the internet?
Some of them are afraid of the computer.
They can't, yes. Even if they can, how affordable is it? Can they afford it?
They can, yes.
Can they afford it? Babatunde just mentioned that. Yes.
Available to them.
It's very expensive. Babatunde mentioned that one of his mentees spent 20,000 a month. That's the student in Unilag, which is not enough. Now, a man or a woman that is struggling to pay public school fees, that is struggling to feed, do you think they can afford that 10,000 for internet? And then the connectivity is so poor, internet keeps rolling and rolling. So, it's a concern because these children are just there. And our own children in public school are going to be their future prey. Because right now they are jobless. They are not in school. All they need is 2-3 years' time. Once they can pick on a gun, that's the problem. So I'm really concerned and burdened. Somebody needs to do something.
Yes.
So who do we address it to? Somebody needs to do something fast.
Yes.
Somebody needs to do something fast.
Because we cannot afford the fallout of lack of education.
We cannot.
It will be much more expensive than the investment that we need to make today. On that note, I would like to round up, and I would like to invite all my followers, all the followers of School Run Academy, to please feel free to DM us on any further dialogue on this issue. And I promise you, we will be back next week at the same time, and we will let you know if we're going to continue on this dialogue or we're going to choose a totally different one. But before I go, I need to let you know that next Wednesday, 20th of May, we shall be having our favorite couple, the runner-up for the Ultimate Love competition on DSTV, Ike Razor. They will be coming here to talk about their road to academic success. Because we know that Teresa is a medical doctor, and we know that Ike is also a graduate. In fact, Ike did computer science, and he actually served in my front office. And I was amazed when he was eulogizing me on live television, saying that I'm the most beautiful woman in and out that he's ever seen. Thank you so much, Ike, and thank you for all you've been doing to make sure that today is possible. So on this note, I would like to say thank you and bye-bye, and I love you all. Thank you, Professor Douglas, Babatunde Aina, Tara Oyeje. I thank all of you, and from me to you is love. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.